Do you remember the days when you could argue about a question for ages without someone killing the conversation by saying, let's just Google it?
Doesn't mean you have to Google it, make life easier.
Is an easier life a better life?
Doesn't that depend on what better life really means?
Could you Google that?
If you did, would it really answer the question?
Wouldn't it give you lots of different answers?
Would any of those answers be the answer?
Is any answer the answer? Or is there only your answer and my answer?
Now, is that a question, or is that a question? Is that what we need?
Is what we need?
Are the questions you can't just Google the ones that make you go, Those the kind of questions we could keep arguing about forever.
Was that a question or an answer?
Can't it be both?
Is that what you meant it to be?
Is meaning what I meant or what you understood?
Is that a philosophical question?
Is that a philosophical question? When you were a child, what was your favourite question?
My friend Michael and I had a great grudge match for years about which is bigger, space or the universe.
Did you Google it?
Do I look like Google existed when I was a child?
And I refuse to answer.
Could we get back to the question?
So which did you think was bigger, space or the universe?
Well, if space is part of the universe, then the universe must be bigger than space, mustn't it?
If the universe runs out, then isn't what isn't on the other side space?
What if the universe is infinite?
Wouldn't space be infinite too?
Wouldn't the universe be infinity, including all the stuff, and space be infinity minus the stuff, so that one infinity would be bigger than the other?
Does this make you dizzy? It's like counting reflections in the hall of mirrors. Does it make you dizzy?
Can't being dizzy be the best feeling, especially when you were 10? Where do the very best questions come from?
Surely it has to be philosophy, hasn't it?
Do we have free will?
What is the good life?
How do we know the world around us is real?
Are right and wrong the same forever?
But what about religion? Doesn't religion have some good questions too?
Well, don't all religious questions end up coming back to one question?
What's that?
Is there a God?
Isn't that a question that does have an answer?
How do you mean?
Isn't it either there isn't or there is?
Does it matter if there is an answer, so long as we can keep arguing about what that answer is?
Isn't part of what we are arguing about whether or not we can keep on arguing? What about at school? Could children get their questions from philosophy?
Wouldn't people say it's too complicated for them and they're just not ready for it yet?
Isn't it a bit like mathematics?
How do you mean?
Well, you wouldn't expect 5-year-olds to be solving game theory equations, would you?
Wouldn't that be more for university?
And you wouldn't expect them to be doing calculus, would you?
Wouldn't that be more for secondary school?
But you would expect them to be doing adding up and taking away.
Isn't that exactly what you expect them to be doing?
And would you still call that mathematics?
Could you call it anything else?
And isn't adding up and taking away the beginning of everything else in maths?
If you took away adding up, would it still be maths? So, if we want people to think more philosophically when they're older, should they start on questions when they're younger?
But what about those children who struggle with straightforward questions? Won't they get a bit left behind by questions that are harder to decide?
Would it surprise you to know that when I was a teacher, in just one term, I took a child from the very top of the class to the bottom?
Is that something to be proud of?
His mum said to me at parents' evening, "Why is my son bottom of the class with you when he was top under the old teacher?"
And why was he?
Well, how would you expect a really old-fashioned history teacher to teach?
When they get them to memorise lists of dates of battles, kings and queens, that sort of thing.
How do you think a young, at that time, hip, up-to-date teacher like me would teach?
Wouldn't you get them to think about questions that are more sophisticated and harder to decide, like under what conditions can the invasion of one sovereign nation by another constitute a just war?
Well, how do you think those kind of questions feel if you are used to getting the right answer all the time and straight away?
Wouldn't they be rather scary?
And what if you were usually worried about getting your dates mixed up or your kings and queens wrong?
Wouldn't they be less scary because you wouldn't be worried about saying something that was obviously wrong?
Isn't there a risk that children start to think nobody's ever right?
Isn't that less risky than them growing up into adults who think that they're never wrong? Wouldn't it be great if parents asked their children more questions?
So not questions like, where are your shoes?
Or why is your brother crying again?
So more questions like, if you children were bigger than us parents, who would be in charge?
If you were charged by a rhinoceros, but it was the last one on Earth, would it be okay to shoot it?
If a shooting star brought an alien to Earth, how would you help that alien understand Christmas?
If it was Christmas every day, would you wish it wasn't?
What's the most important thing about questions?
Is it that we live in a world full of uncertainty?
Are you certain that we live in a world full of uncertainty?
Isn't that what a lot of people say?
But is that a lot of people say it a good reason to think it?
Don't a lot of people think that there is a lot to be said for thinking the things a lot of people say?
Doesn't that depend?
On what?
Are you in the lot or not?
Does thinking the same make you part of a lot?
Or does being part of a lot make you think the same?
Does being in a lot that think the same as you make you more certain the lot you're in is the lot that's in the right?
Is it right to say the most important thing about questions is to get you thinking about what the other lot are thinking?
Could they get you thinking about which lot you want to be in?
Or whether it's better to be in a lot or not?
Or to have lots and lots of lots, or not have lots of lots?
Though these questions give you a lot to think about.
Could questions help prevent certain people from growing more uncertain about people who are different to them?
Are you growing more uncertain about certain people who are growing more uncertain about the people who are different to them?
If I am growing more uncertain about certain people who are growing more uncertain about people who are different to them, am I any different to them?
Is the most important thing about questions that they lead to questions that lead to more questions?
You know what sort of questions I feel like finishing with?
What sort?
The sort of questions you ask when you've had a serious discussion and then you want to just lighten the mood and chat about something simply daft, like if you had to be reincarnated as a kitchen appliance, would you come back as a cuisinaire or a refrigerator?
Or what would be better, to be a human-sized ant or an ant-sized human?
Or which are better?
Spots
Or stripes?